to our panel session and discussion today. I'm so excited to see all of you here. Are you having a really good day? Wow. That sounded exciting. Are you having a great day? Yes, great. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. You know, first of all, I just want to acknowledge all of you for taking your Saturday and Sunday to come and learn a bit more about writing. I think that's great. My name is Heather Hansen. I'm an author myself. I'm a speaker and trainer as well on communication skills, speaking clearly and confidently. So writing is also very close to my heart, and I am so excited to be moderating this panel. Because you know, now with the internet, writing is changing, right? Each and every one of you in here have the opportunity to create your own brand, your own persona, your own following. You can write about absolutely anything you want. And that's really cool, I think. And today we have 3 people here who are excellent writers, who have definitely made names for themselves in the online community and the global space. So we are going to have a chance to learn a lot from each of them. And I can't wait because I've already got to chat with them. I called each of them yesterday, we all talked, and I learned so much. I took so many notes, so I hope you have your notebooks ready because there's lots to learn. So let me take a moment to introduce these fabulous panelists that we have today. First of all, Liana Achman. And what's really neat is that these 3 up here, you know what, they don't only do blogging. They all have other jobs and responsibilities and things that they're doing, okay? So for Liana, in her case, she's actually an economics undergraduate and Singaporean book, movie, and entertainment reviewer. So I don't know if any of you have checked out her website, lianaland.com. Very interesting stuff. She has reviewed 170 books in the last 4 years. 170. I did the math this morning. That equals 1 a week for the last 4 years. Plus she's studying full-time, plus she has an internship, plus she's doing all this other stuff, right? So you can really see you can follow your passion and create a following and a really cool blog out of it. Now that I've gone completely off the notes, let's see if I'm missing anything else that's really important. She founded her site in 2009, and it grew from a far too long to read book list into a website that focuses on young adult fiction, Southeast Asian and Singaporean literature. Aside from spending 80% of her time peering at her e-reader or her mom's iPad, she spends the other 20% organizing book events, checking out book and film festivals, as well as exploring the area and being a local tourist. Her reviews are currently published in Waves Lifestyle magazine in Johor Bahru and Singapore. So let's give her a very warm welcome. And second up, YWMF, another part-time blogger and a part-time job as well. She has an avid love for arts, design, and fashion, and this is what led her to create Eiffel in Seoul. That's Eiffel as in the Eiffel Tower, Seoul as in Seoul, Korea. EiffelInSeoul.com. This is a leading fashion website featuring the latest red carpet fashions worn by Asian celebrities. Eiffel in Seoul has been featured in Shop Korea, City Edition by Global Blue, the Wall Street Journal, and the Sunday Herald Scotland. Prior to Eiffel in Seoul, Mylin was a freelance writer for allkpop.com. So welcome, Mylin. And finally, the gentleman on our panel, Ko. An wears many, many hats, I found out yesterday. He is quite the businessman, quite the entrepreneur, and has also written and traveled all over the world with his writing and magazine companies and magazine-related events. He's the founder of the food blog Chubby Hubby. Are you the Chubby Hubby?
Try not to be.
Try not to be the Chubby Hubby. But he's the founder of the food blog. He discovered a love of writing in university. He was editor-in-chief of his school's weekly newspaper. And he spent a decade working in magazines and newspapers in New York, Paris, Hong Kong, and Singapore, before taking a break to work in the art world for 2 years. An has written several cookbooks and is currently an executive director at the 8 Group, an integrated communications services group, and his site is chubbyhubby.net, if you'd like to take a look at that, if you haven't already. So welcome An, thanks for being here. All right, so the topic for today's discussion is all about writing for online publications, including blogs. That's why we have these amazing people here today. I thought I would just start us off with a couple little questions, and whenever any of you have a question, please let me know. Just raise your hand, and we will come around to you. Is mine the only mic? Okay, so I will either have you yell really loud, or I will run to you with the microphone, and you can ask your question, okay? So please, we're here to help you. The panelists are very given and very giving and very open to share. So please just feel free to ask, and they will answer very honestly, I'm sure. So now, I will take a seat and join that. All right, so why don't we just start off very briefly, if you can each just let us know in a quick soundbite, what led you to start your blog? Why did you start it?
Hi everyone. For me, it's really the love of reading. There's not much to it. I just love reading, and I went to look for more books. So when I went online to read the book recommendations, I saw there were a lot of book blogs. So there was the boom of all the book blogs when there were tons being created in 2009. So I decided to make one post to detail. Sorry, can you hear me? Oh no. So I made one long book list in my personal blog, which I then deleted with all the personal posts to become my book blog. Basically, yeah, that's it. Short story.
I feel and so because there were a lot of fashion blogs that were writing about Hollywood celebrities, but not so much on Asian celebrities. And during that time, I was crazy over like the Korean pop scene and watching a lot of dramas. So I thought, right, there's nobody doing it, so why not I start? And I started when I was 17 years old. And I guess many of you are probably 17, and yeah, I guess you can also start a blog when you're young and probably still starting. So.
I feel so old now. I started my blog in 2005, and I started because I was working at the time helping to organize the Stienber Writers Festival back then. And we had opened up that festival to bloggers for the very first time. And myself and a lot of the other guys who were working on the festival had no idea what a blogger was. So the chairman who was running the festival for us sort of gave us a quick sort of brief of what bloggers were, gave us some websites to look at, and challenged all of us working at the festival to start our own blogs. So after looking through a bunch of blogs, I then sort of discovered the sort of food blog world. And it was quite amazing for me because I had never seen that much sort of grassroots writing or sort of non-professional writing on food at that level. It was a level that was higher than a lot of published magazine articles that I read, and I worked in magazines for 10 years, so I was really blown away, and I was just blown away about the pure passion people had for recipes for the restaurants, and I decided to sort of try my own hand at it. Originally, doing it just for myself and my friends and family, not wanting to be seen by anyone else. It just sort of got out of hand and became more and more public.
Could I just see a raise of hands? How many of you already have a blog? How many people here? Raise nice and high. Nice and high. Okay, there's a good number of people here. And the rest of you, I assume, are considering maybe starting a blog? How many of you are considering starting one? And the rest of you just don't have any idea why you're here, you thought the people looked pretty, you wanted to come. I'm going to go with the assumption that many of you are looking into starting a blog if you don't have one already, or maybe you want to write for other online publications, right? Okay, now since this is a writing festival, maybe, have any of you written offline? Yeah? Heard it, yeah, somewhere, a couple hands, okay. So what are some of the differences between, writing for offline publications and writing for online? I mean, blogging is quite a job, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, because my subject matter is really quite subjective, online and offline publication is basically the same, just more professional when I'm not doing it on my blog. So my reviews were published in Waves Lifestyle magazine. So in that case, since it's reaching out to a more offline audience, and it's reaching out to both countries, it had to be on a more professional scale and much more concise than what I can write on my blog. And there's not a lot of personal stuff I can put in the much more concise review. And yeah, it has to be pretty much promoting at the same time. You can't give so much as a negative review, and there are topics that you cannot really blog about. For example, I can't blog about political stuff, any wartime stories, none of those books are allowed. So basically, I'll just keep to science fiction, fantasy, young adult, what I specialize in, I suppose.
It's okay, you don't have to answer every question.
I think, to me, there are a number of differences. Whether you're writing for a blog or you're writing for an online website that is actually edited by people, and that's more akin to writing for a professional newspaper or magazine. When you're writing a blog, if it's just your personal blog, one of the great luxuries is there's no editor. There's no like annoying person reading down your back telling you, oh, this story isn't really good. You know, it doesn't give you back your article with red lines through it, you know, sort of like, please rewrite this. The deadlines are up to you. So a blog is a wonderful way of just expressing yourself. It's a great way to sharpen your writing skills. Most blogs are first-person narrative in structure as well. So you're writing, you know, about your life, about your opinions. There's a lot of sort of first-person, a lot of sort of, I went here, I loved this, or, you know, I think this movie is fantastic. When you make the transition of writing for, whether it's an online website or a newspaper or magazine, very often you're writing in third person. You have to do a lot more research, and you have to follow certain structures. There needs to be a lead. There needs to be there's sort of a pyramid structure for a lot of articles. And so those are the big differences. To me, the biggest difference when I started Chubby Hubby was the fact that the pure luxury, again, of not having to deal with deadlines or other editors. I now have an editor for my blogs, and my writers, I think, are not as happy as I was when I first started it. But that's sort of the big difference to me.
But what about the unseen editor? What about those people that put those mean comments on there like, don't you know there should be a comma there, and don't you know they spelled that wrong? And that's usually an American coming in and critiquing your British English spelling, by the way. I get that a lot. So how do you handle it? You know, especially in the early days when you're just getting started, and you just want to get out there, and then you have these people coming in and writing horrible things. I assume, am I the only one who gets horrible comments? I hope it's not just me. But does somebody want to start us off?
Actually, it's not only about your readers. For me personally, there's a lot of other blogs that are writing on the same thing as me. So I remember there was one blogger who actually wrote up an entire post and said that I copy her stuff. And it's very funny because all the information is available online. So she actually put my link on her blog and said that I copy her stuff. And it's funny because personally I feel that you shouldn't insult someone online so publicly. And I didn't take it to heart because when she put my link out there, I actually get more hits from there. And
she did you a favor.
Yeah. And also, if they, personally I criticize whatever celebrities wear, so whether they wear nice or not, I'll put my own opinion there. And I have readers who have different opinions, and fashion is very subjective, so I think whatever I say, you know, you just take it as a pinch of salt. So if most of us have different opinions, so I just accept it. And I'm not very good in writing, so I do have grammar mistakes, and whenever they reader tell me that I have a mistake, you know, I accept it and I learn from them actually. Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on the tone and sort of style of your own blog. I think if you are, I think it's sort of also something to bear in mind when you're starting your own website or starting your own blog, is what are you trying to write, who you're writing for, and what's your agenda, what's your end objective. If you're writing a site that is very personal, that is very passionate, that's very earnest, very honest, you actually won't get that much criticism. I found a lot of people I know that have sites that are just very, very honest about their opinions, and they're not trying to be mean to anyone. They're just trying to share what they love with a global audience. They won't get that many negative responses. I think it's a site that tries to critique others, or tries to critique things. Once you get into that sort of territory where you catch yourself as a critic, I think then you welcome a lot of people criticizing you. I think that's one of the big things. I always get people especially one time sub-editor who will constantly email me and say, oh, you made a there's a typo here, or you left off the 0 in the recipe. And that's great. And actually, that helps me, because I need a second editor. Again, when you have your own blog, it's difficult to re-edit your own work. But I've been very lucky that I haven't gotten a lot of really negative feedback. The most negative feedback I've ever actually gotten was when I actually accepted to do an advertorial once. So I actually accepted, an advertiser asked me to post something about their brand. And I actually said very clearly, this is an advertorial. And I got a lot of negative feedback from readers who basically just were like, why are you doing this? It's stupid. You shouldn't be doing this. And that's the most I've gotten. But I have friends who do get a lot of critics. I have one friend who's a technology blogger in the UK who has her own pet voice for all those people who are like, actually, what you're saying is wrong. And then she gets that a lot. Probably because she is a public figure, she goes on TV as well. But people, and I think the other thing is, the more well-known you are, the bigger you become, the more people want to take you down. And if you are just starting out and you're honest, and you're positive, people will usually be supportive. It's when you become a local celebrity or a minor celebrity or a huge one that people are going to try to find faults.
No, I think that's really true. The bigger you get, the thicker skin you need to have and be ready to face that, right? I'll tell you what I do. I just write to my best friends and I say, these mean people just wrote on my blog, can you please go in and put something nice? And then they all get together and they go and put nice comments on and say that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Makes me feel better and look better and everybody's happy. So.
You should offer that as a service.
Yeah, I should offer it as a service, yeah. So let me turn things over to all of you. Are there any questions just in what we've been talking about so far, or something you're thinking about? We're happy to go all different directions with this conversation. Any questions yet? Please don't be shy. Not yet? Okay, we'll keep thinking. If something pops up, let me know. Okay, then why don't we continue on? Since I know that a lot of you are looking at possibly starting a blog, or maybe are in the early days of your blogs, I think one of the big things we need to think about is how do we get a following? I mean, is it like if you write it, it will come? I mean, I know personally it hasn't worked that way for me. So how can all three of you have really great brands and followings? I mean, how did you go about creating that? What did you do?
I basically went around to all the other book blogs and commented on your blog. You don't have to put your own link underneath the comment, because they can just click on your name and find out. Because sometimes people will see that as that you are promoting your own brand, so you're just leaving the comment and just to promote your own website. Just so more people will come. So it's a more sly way of getting people to get back to your blog, I suppose. And you just make friends with them, and you make friends and make more friends, and that's how you just build a following.
For me, it's posting on forums and on social media like Twitter, Facebook. And on forum is great because, for example, I'm writing about a certain girl group or boy band. So I will go to the forum and I'll just post it there. And it's great because they have their own celebrities, they have their own followings in those forums. So eventually they'll keep going back to your blog and see their favorite celebrities on your blog. Yeah.
My experience is actually very similar to Liana's in a way, in that when I first started out, I basically chose the top sort of food and travel blogs that I really liked and respected, and basically left comments, and also emailed a lot of the bloggers. Emailed a lot of them and said, hey, I just started my own little thing. If you have a chance to take a look at it, and just started conversations. And what happened, I was very, very lucky. I mean, this was 2005, and the blogosphere was much, much smaller than it is now. And back then, the sort of, I guess, top food and travel bloggers out there were actually a very tight community. And when someone new came in that was, I guess, writing or taking photographs at a similar level, that was doing stuff of a quality that other guys or other women liked, you were very quickly welcomed into that circle. And today I'm still good friends with a lot of people I met back then who actually moved on to great big careers in the US through their blog. But back, it was that simple. It was, commenting on the places you liked most, was reaching out and being sort of unafraid to sort of email someone and say, hey, I love your site. You know, let's hang out virtually. And that's about it. You know, back then as well, I was very lucky because the fact that blogs were just a new medium. A lot of press internationally were jumping on sort of the bandwagon of let's do stories on young bloggers, or let's do stories on top 10 blogs or top 20 blogs in different kinds of industries. And so a lot of press came out about the blog purely because of just people looking for, you know, compile a list.
Interesting. Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second. You say, reach out to all these bloggers who are blogging in the same area as you. But I mean, aren't these people your competitors? I mean, aren't you fighting over the same viewers? And you know, why would we want to reach out to other people who have similar blogs to our own?
Why not? I mean, like, I like to meet more people and have basically a discussion platform. So basically, in my term, for us, it's a book. So you can have as much discussions as you like. For example, the Harry Potter books, there can be never-ending discussions about that. Like, you can argue so many different point of views about just that one scene, one character alone. Yeah, it just never stops. So, wow. Yeah.
I think now that's probably a good issue to raise because now there's a lot of competition. And more people are going into whether it's websites or blogs for very commercial reasons. And so I think that's very valid today, like especially in Singapore, where I can throw a rock and hit a food blogger. You know, it's that common. Back then, back 2005, I could count on both hands the number of really high-quality food blogs that I loved. And so people were so welcoming because, you know, you were one of them. And it was sort of this magic moment where people discovered there were other weirdos who were as crazy, as passionate, as insane about this topic as they were, because their friends didn't get it, their family didn't get it, but all of a sudden there was some guy living in Perth, or some guy living in London, or some woman living in Scotland who got it, who was like, oh, I'm equally obsessed. And that connected a lot of people. And then when you saw the level of work, and again, you know, I still to this day believe that a lot of what I see on websites and blogs is of a much higher quality than what I see in professional magazines because of the fact people care. You know, the average magazine journalist or newspaper journalist, and I've been through that system, you're assigned to be. You're told, oh, this year you're going to be writing about music and film. I don't care if you're a politics major, or the next year, you know, you have the obituary column. Good luck. Which happens in, happens in big papers. If you're a blogger and you say, hey, I love dance, or I love food, or I love sports cars, or I love books, you know, that translates. And because of that passion, as you become more and more fluent with the language, or as you become a better photographer, the work just improves. And to the level at which most top food bloggers in Singapore today, whether it's Brad from the Iron Chef or Leslie from Ideas Post, their readership alone is bigger than the entire combined readership of every single food magazine published in Singapore. Individually. Each one of them has a bigger readership than all the magazines together. And that's the reality of the scene today.
Those are pretty amazing numbers that you just brought up. You know, to have a larger readership than any of the magazines published in Singapore. How many of you would like to have a blog like that? I would, huh? Yeah. Right? So I mean, so really what you're saying is that you can really create a life and a business out of this if you wanted to. A life.
Not sure about business.
Not so sure about business. Okay, how many people here are hoping that they will be able to make some kind of money off of their blog? Those of you who have blogs and those of you thinking about blogging, because you did bring up a good point that there's a lot more competition now and that people are going in with visions to monetize their writing. So how many of you are hoping to make some kind of income off of your blog? Maybe have it as a full-time job one day, or bring in a side income, okay? Okay, good. All right, so what are your thoughts on this, panelists? You know, without sharing exact numbers, are you making an income off of your blogs? How is that income coming in? Do you see a viable business plan or business model in the blogging space? Okay, so a few questions there all wrapped into one, but hopefully that answers some of the questions you might be thinking about, huh?
Income stream-wise, for the book blogging universe, there's a sort of unspoken stigma about getting any income stream off your blogs. So any compensation that you get should come in the form of books, swag such as bookmarks and so on. That's what the community sort of approves of. But personally, I don't care whether you put blogs or not, as long as I get my content, like what I want to read is still there, and that not 100% of the majority of what of that blog has turned into ads or any money-making profit. So in this case, for my case, the advertisers would approach me and ask for more of featured posts and so on. And I can get, like compensation-wise, it could be monetary gain or collectibles or invites to premieres and so on. Yeah, it's not it's just a sporadic form of compensation, not so much an income, if you call that, I guess.
For me, it's about, I guess it's the same. I do earn, but it won't sustain me for a month. And personally, I started the blog because I love fashion and the celebrity. So my main goal wasn't about earning money, and up to this day, it's still not about earning money. And if I do earn, I think I'm very grateful for it. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy blogging, and whether I earn money or not, it doesn't matter.
It's nice. My side doesn't make that much money either. We make a little bit of money from advertising that allows us to pay for our server, basically. All my writers and my editor work for free, and I basically don't keep any of the money that we make from it. I think if you guys want to go into sort of website creation or blogging, you have to go into it with, and again, a lot of people do this now, you go into it with a clear agenda. Are you going into this to make money from your blog or your website? Are you going into this to build a career that uses the blog as a launch pad that allows you to make a living off that career? Or is it just a pure passion thing, which, I think in the late 2000s, we all started our blog in that period. There was a lot of passion, but there are also a lot of people that, let's say, who want to be journalists, who find that the road to slogging out as this, the lowest paid scrub at 8 days is not worthwhile. So I might say, well, let me start a blog, showcase what I can do, showcase my photography, showcase my writing, and hopefully someone will say, hey, this person's amazing, I will hire them at a high word rate to do feature articles, and you can skip 10 years of slogging out in the trenches. And a lot of people are doing that now. They're using their blogs to showcase their abilities to write, to take photographs, to edit. People are also using it to showcase expertise. And you can emerge as the greatest book reviewer in the country. And then people will say, hey, this person is someone we need to tap into for other jobs outside of your website. You can be a consultant. You could be, you can brand yourself as the greatest expert on population control and socioeconomics. PAP will hire you tomorrow. If you can, and that's one thing a lot of people are doing. As I said, one of my very close friends in LA, a guy named Matt, who has a website called Matt Bites. He was an advertising guy who started a food blog, who's now working as a professional photographer because he got so many photography jobs out of his website that he could now actually do what he loves to do most for a living. And they said that the last thing of making money through your blog is very controversial in some ways, because if you want to start a blog that is in which the content is for sale, and that's happening more and more often these days in Singapore or anywhere around the world, you have to be aware of the kind of audience you're going to create, the detractors that will be out there, and the critique that will be against you because your integrity or your words are for sale. Now that is not to say that it's not a great idea and it doesn't happen. It happens a lot. I think 80 to 90% of technology blogs out there around the world people are now being paid to do posts on cool products. A lot of food bloggers in Singapore are being paid to do posts on restaurants. And my blog, we refuse to do that. A lot of my peers, and I won't criticize them, they need to make a living. They're happy to do that. So there are ways in which you can make money from your blog, but it's something you have to be very careful opening yourself up to.
For me personally, the advertisers that I've worked with, I've been very clear with them and they've been pretty agreeable on this, that all my reviews would be subjective and it would be my personal reviews. So they don't mind if I don't like the product, personally. Yeah.
You write a negative review?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they're saying she will write a negative review if she feels negatively about it. Now, I know it's slightly different, your policy.
Yeah, we
right?
basically, I mean, we basically created a policy a long time ago that I felt that the blog was created to be a service to people, and there's no service criticizing anyone. And my goal was to tell people where to eat and what to cook. It wasn't about where not to eat or what not to cook. So we won't publish negative reviews. If we do get a trip sponsored by a tourism agency or a hotel company, which we will accept, we also make it clear to them that we will write only what we think is positive about the trip. So if there's a bad experience at our hotel, we will not cover the hotel period. So we have that kind of policy in place.
Now, what I'm hearing coming up from well, these are reviewers here, is that you have a number, or maybe one or a few more, actual policies in place. What you will do, what you will not do, if people want to be involved with you, what they need to do, what kinds of policies and rules and things do we need to be thinking about when we have a blog or when we're involved with online writing?
Basically, just for the policy-wise, you just tell them what you want to write and what you will not write about. So, for example, it could be, for example, an advertiser approaches you for a sponsored post and they don't tell you what the content is. So you can choose whether to publish that or not. But you, for example, you can tell them that you put a disclaimer there that you haven't tried any of your products and so on. And this is purely a sponsored post. Yeah, so they'll get the idea that even if you write anything positive about it, you haven't actually tried it. Yeah, sponsored post, no.
I don't know how much it applies for fashion blogs.
You know, the funny thing is that if you're writing a blog or a website, you're actually under more scrutiny by your readers and by traditional media than if you actually were a newspaper or magazine journalist. To that extent, you have to be more careful, which is why my site has a very clear editorial policy. We will not take free meals at restaurants, we will not do this, we will not do that. We make it very, very clear to any PR person, to any sort of reader. The flip side is that, and what irks me a lot is that a lot of bloggers do get criticized for taking free meals or for publishing sponsored posts. And a lot of the criticism does come from traditional journalists very often. ST loves publishing articles on this bad blogger took a free meal here and then caused an uproar. There are just as many freelance journalists, just as many full-time professional journalists working in Singapore today that eat for free, get free stuff, as any blogger out there. Every single magazine in Singapore, you can buy an editorial story in. If you are an advertiser and you advertise heavily, you can get an article about yourself. Every single food critic of any newspaper or magazine in Singapore, except for Business Times and Straits Times, eats for free. The only people that don't eat for free are basically Ayok, Xue Yuan, Jeffrey Yu, and Jamie E. from Business Times and Straits Times. And they will, for review, someone like Ayok will eat at the place 3 times. One of those will be for free. So you can, the biggest issue is one of integrity. And I think that every single blogger or journalist out there needs to sort of learn very early in their career what is the line they're willing to cross